The day started like any other on Earth. People were busy in their cities, in labs, at work, or going about their daily lives, completely unaware that far beyond their skies, something unimaginable was happening. Deep in the vastness of space, a fleet of alien ships was in grave danger. They were not hostile warships, nor were they seeking to attack anyone. They were explorers, travelers, and scientists, caught in a trap created by the universe itself. A dying star, unstable and unpredictable, threatened to destroy them completely. Engines had failed, navigation systems were broken, and their situation was hopeless. Meanwhile, on Earth, in a large space command center, a group of scientists and engineers were monitoring the usual traffic in space. Satellites, human spacecraft, and signals from far-off planets were being recorded and studied. Suddenly, an unusual signal appeared on their screens. At first, it was faint and fragmented, almost impossible to decode. The team leaned closer, squinting at the strange patterns and strange language. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The transmission was chaotic, filled with noise and static, but there was something undeniable in it. It was a call for help. The scientists immediately realized the gravity of the situation. Receiving signals from distant galaxies was rare, and most were harmless, often just natural cosmic phenomena or technical glitches. But this felt different. It was desperate, urgent, and almost human in its tone. The voice, though alien and distorted by distance, carried a sense of fear and hope at the same time. They replayed the message over and over, carefully analyzing it. Each time, a clearer pattern emerged. This was no accident. Someone or something was in trouble, and they were reaching out across the stars, hoping someone would hear. The news quickly reached higher authorities. Leaders of Earth space programs gathered in an emergency meeting. Some argued it could be a trap, a trick, or a misunderstanding. Others feared it might involve a dangerous alien species. Many feared the worst, that responding could put Earth at risk. Still, a few voices insisted on focusing on the simple truth. The message was a cry for help, not a threat. They reminded everyone that humanity had the technology, the experience, and the responsibility to respond if someone was in need. After hours of debate, the decision was made. Earth would act, not as a show of strength, not to conquer or dominate, but simply to help. Engineers started preparing rescue ships, loading them with supplies, medical equipment, and specialized repair tools. Scientists continued to study the alien signal, attempting to understand their language, technology, and the exact location of the fleet. It was a race against time. The star system they were trapped in was collapsing. Every hour brought them closer to disaster. Back in the alien fleet, the situation was dire. The aliens had tried every possible maneuver to escape the star's deadly pull. Engines were overheating, shields were failing, and some of their smaller ships were already damaged beyond repair. Fear spread among their ranks. Many of the younger crew members had never seen death so close, and older veterans had never felt so powerless. The commander of the fleet, a strong and disciplined leader, recorded messages for his people, believing they would never be read. He spoke of courage, of survival, and of hope, but mostly he admitted his fear. In private, he wondered if the universe had truly abandoned them. Then, without warning, their sensors picked up distant movement. At first, it seemed like another wave of debris, or perhaps the last flickers of failing ships. But the movement became clearer, larger, and organized. The aliens quickly realized they were not alone. For a moment, panic surged. They had long been told that humans were unpredictable and dangerous. The thought of encountering a human fleet made their stomachs twist with fear. Were these ships coming to destroy them, to finish what nature had started? As the unknown fleet drew closer, the aliens prepared for confrontation. Shields went up, Weapons were readied, and the crews braced themselves for the worst. Yet, what they saw defied every expectation. The fleet approaching them was not attacking. It moved with careful precision, coordinated and controlled, yet without any sign of aggression. Small shuttles detached and approached the disabled ships, not with missiles or weapons, but with repair drones and energy stabilizers. The aliens stared in disbelief. Could it be? Could humans actually be here to help them? On Earth, the rescue mission was in full swing. Pilots and engineers worked tirelessly, communicating with each other through secure channels. Every ship was carefully maneuvered to avoid the deadly radiation from the dying star. Some drones were sent ahead to scan damaged alien ships, assess weaknesses, and prepare for repairs. Every human on the fleet understood the stakes. One mistake could destroy the mission, yet failure was not an option. They were not here to prove strength. They were here to save lives. And that simple truth motivated them more than any reward. Recognition could dot communication between humans and aliens was slow and difficult. The languages were completely different, and signals often interfered with one another. Yet there was understanding. Small gestures, energy pulses, and simple patterns of lights became a way to convey intent. The humans made it clear they were not here to attack. They were here to rescue. And slowly, the aliens began to believe it. Some of the younger crew members even smiled in disbelief as human engineers floated alongside their ships, connecting wires, repairing engines, and stabilizing shields. The impossible was happening. They were being saved by a species they had always feared. As the hours passed, the alien commander observed the humans closely. They were calm, focused, and fearless in the face of danger. They worked together in a way that reminded him of the best crews in his fleet. Yet there was something different, a warmth, a care for life itself, not just survival. He realized in a moment of clarity that humanity was unlike anything he had been taught to fear. They were strong, yes, but they were also compassionate, willing to risk themselves for others they had never met. The human fleet continued its work late into the alien night. Every repair was a small victory. Every life saved was a triumph against the star's merciless pull. And though the aliens still had many questions, their fear began to change into cautious hope. Perhaps they had been wrong about humans. Perhaps the universe had not abandoned them after all. By the end of the day, a fragile but growing bond had formed between the two species. Though separated by countless miles, languages, and experiences, they shared one undeniable truth: the need to survive, the hope to continue, and the courage to trust when the odds were stacked against them. Humanity had reached across the void, not to conquer, not to fight, but simply to save. And in doing so, they had begun a story that would forever change the galaxy. In that quiet moment, floating among the wreckage of the dying star system, the alien commander recorded a new message. This time, it was not one of despair, but of gratitude. He spoke of the humans, of their courage, and of the hope they had brought. He could not yet imagine what the future held, but he knew this. Today, humanity had shown what it truly meant to be a friend in the darkest hour. And on Earth, far away, the crews of the rescue fleet worked through the night, unaware of the history they were making. They were not thinking of fame or recognition. They were thinking only of the lives they were saving. And that simple, human focus was enough to light up the darkest corners of space. The alien fleet was in chaos. The ships floated silently, their engines dead or barely humming, trapped in the gravitational pull of the dying star. Smoke and sparks leaked from damaged hulls, and alarms rang endlessly through the command centers. The crew, though trained for emergencies, were beginning to panic. They had never faced anything like this before. Some of the smaller vessels were drifting uncontrollably, spinning slowly as their thrusters failed. Every ship that failed to maintain control increased the danger for the others. A single collision could trigger a chain reaction that would destroy them all. Inside the command ship, the fleet commander watched the systems fail one by one. The walls shook from minor impacts of debris and energy surges. Despite their fear, the commander stayed calm. He moved from station to station, giving orders, trying to coordinate the remaining functional ships. His voice was steady, but even he could not hide the worry in his eyes. This was supposed to be a mission of exploration, not a death trap. Every decision felt like it could be the last dot in the midst of this panic. A faint signal appeared on the long-range scanners. At first, it was barely noticeable, a series of weak pulses, almost drowned out by the chaos. The crew leaned closer, trying to make sense of it. It was a strange formation of energy and sound, repeating in a pattern that suggested intelligence. The officers whispered among themselves, wondering if it was another fleet, a natural phenomenon, or something more sinister. The commander focused intently, adjusting the sensors to filter out the noise. Slowly, the pattern became clearer. It was a fleet approaching them. Fear rippled through the alien crew. They had been told stories about humans, about their unpredictable behavior and destructive capabilities. Some crew members immediately assumed the worst. "They are coming to finish us," one officer said. "They must be sent by our enemies." Panic spread like wildfire, but the commander raised a hand and silenced them. "Wait and observe," he said. "Do not act rashly." The approaching ships moved with surprising precision. They did not fire weapons, nor did they take aggressive maneuvers. Instead, they formed protective patterns around the alien fleet. Small crafts detached from the main vessels, moving carefully toward the failing ships. The aliens stared in disbelief. The humans were not attacking. They were helping. On the human side, the rescue operation was intense and carefully planned. Every maneuver had to be precise, because the star's radiation was increasing with every hour. The humans had studied the dying star for years, preparing emergency protocols for extreme situations. Now, they were putting every plan into action. Engineers worked with drones to patch holes in alien hulls. Medics floated alongside damaged ships, extending tendrils of energy to stabilize life support systems. Every human knew that one mistake could be catastrophic, yet no one hesitated. Their mission was simple: save lives. Communication between the species was difficult. The aliens had no common language with humans, and the humans had only fragments of their language from the faint signal. But even without words, understanding began to form. A repaired engine, a stabilized shield, or a calming gesture was enough to show intent. Slowly, the alien crew began to realize that these humans had not come to conquer them. They had come to rescue them. The first small ship was saved. The engines flickered to life, and the shield stabilized. The crew cheered quietly, too afraid to celebrate fully, knowing the danger was far from over. But the hope in that small victory spread quickly. One by one, the human teams moved from ship to ship, repairing critical systems and guiding the aliens toward a safer formation. The commander watched these events closely. He had spent his life preparing for war, for threats, and for betrayal. But what he saw now challenged everything he had been taught. The humans did not move with fear or aggression. They moved with precision and care, risking their own lives to save strangers. He could not deny the truth. Humanity was different from what he had expected. Time passed slowly as both fleets worked together. The humans coordinated their movements with careful signals, ensuring they did not collide with alien ships or get caught in the star's radiation bursts. Meanwhile, the aliens followed their guidance, still cautious, still uncertain, but slowly trusting. It was a delicate dance, a balance between survival and chaos. Inside the damaged alien ships, young crew members whispered to each other. Some could not believe what was happening. "They are helping us," one said. "Humans. They are actually helping us." Another shook their head in disbelief. "I was taught to fear them. I thought we would all die here." Their voices were small, almost lost among the alarms and hum of energy fields. But they carried wonder and gratitude. As hours passed, more ships regained functionality. The human engineers used innovative methods to stabilize engines, creating temporary power solutions and patching critical systems. Medics worked tirelessly, ensuring that alien crew members received oxygen and energy stabilization. Even small gestures mattered. A light pulse here, a guiding hand there. The human's presence was not just technical, it was deeply humane. Despite the calm exterior, the humans faced real danger. Debris from the star system moved unpredictably, and radiation surges threatened their ships and crews. A minor miscalculation could destroy everything they had worked for. Yet every human crew member pressed on, driven not by glory, but by the knowledge that lives depended on them. Slowly, a fragile bond began to form between the species. The aliens began to trust the humans, allowing them to guide their movements and assist with repairs. Small acts of cooperation became symbols of hope. When a young alien engineer struggled with a failing system, a human floated over to assist, showing the correct method step by step. The alien looked into the human's eyes and saw calm determination, and for the first time, fear began to lessen. The commander of the fleet continued to observe. He realized that the humans' approach was unlike anything he had seen. They did not fight for territory, for pride, or for power. They fought for life itself. And in doing so, they were teaching the aliens a lesson that no training or history could provide. Courage and compassion were the greatest forms of strength. By the end of the first long day, the immediate danger had lessened. Several ships were stabilized, and the alien crew had begun to understand that survival was possible. Still, the star system remained unstable, and the danger was far from over. But hope, which had seemed impossible hours before, now flickered brightly among the alien ranks. The commander recorded a new message to his fleet, something different from the despair-filled messages he had sent earlier. This time, he spoke of the humans, of their bravery, and of the unexpected assistance that had given his people a chance at survival. He could not yet believe the universe had sent them help in such a moment of desperation. But seeing the humans work tirelessly, risking their own lives, he felt a sense of relief he had not known in years. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the human crews continued their work, unaware of how their actions were reshaping history. They did not think of fame or recognition. They did not care about rewards. They focused only on the task at hand, saving lives. Their dedication was quiet, steady, and unwavering. And in the vastness of space, far beyond any human city or planet, their actions were creating a ripple that would be remembered by an entire civilization. The first night in the alien fleet was a strange mixture of fear and relief. The aliens did not sleep, not fully. They remained alert, watching the humans, observing their every move. And yet, in that alertness, there was curiosity and wonder. They whispered among themselves about the strange species that had appeared out of nowhere and risked everything to save them. Perhaps, they wondered, the universe was not as cruel as they had believed. As the humans and aliens continued to work side by side, a story was quietly being written, one not of war, conquest, or fear, but of trust, cooperation, and unexpected heroism. The dying star system had brought them together in a moment of extreme danger, and in that moment, they discovered something profound, that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, hope could exist, and humanity could shine as a beacon for those in need. By the end of Part 2, the alien fleet was still in danger, but it had survived the worst of the crisis. Human ships hovered protectively around them, ready to intervene at any moment. The aliens were beginning to see humans not as a threat, but as saviors. And in the quiet moments between the alarms, the whisper of the human message was clear. Even the most unlikely heroes could make the difference between life and death. The human fleet had been hovering near the dying star for hours, moving carefully, like a steady hand guiding a fragile object. The alien fleet, though stabilized somewhat, was still in a precarious position. Some ships floated at odd angles, their engines barely producing enough thrust to hold them steady, while others were damaged from collisions or radiation surges. The situation was tense, but humans did not hesitate. Every crew member knew that time was critical. On one of the human ships, engineers worked together in teams. They used robotic arms and drones to reach the most dangerous sections of the alien vessels. Sparks flew, hull panels rattled, and alarms blared, but the humans moved steadily. They did not panic. Each movement was deliberate, each action precise. One engineer guided a drone into a collapsed engine compartment, carefully reconnecting circuits while radiation alarms went off nearby. Another technician floated alongside a shield generator, manually recalibrating it while holding on to cables that could not be trusted to stay put. Every step required focus. Every decision mattered. The aliens watched in amazement. They had never seen anything like this. In their history, when a fleet was in danger, survival often depended on luck, combat, or sheer force. Humans did not rely on luck. They did not attack or show aggression. Instead, they used skill, ingenuity, and cooperation to save lives. Some of the younger aliens whispered to each other, barely able to contain their disbelief. "They are helping us," one said. Another shook their head. "I thought we would die here, but now, maybe we have a chance." Communication remained a challenge. The humans did not speak the alien language, and the aliens could barely understand them. But words were not necessary for trust to grow. Small gestures, guiding hands, signals, stabilizing shields, pointing out weak points began to build understanding. A human engineer would point to a broken panel, then to a functioning one, showing the alien technician how to replicate the repair. Slowly, a silent conversation formed, one built on actions, not words. In the alien command ship, the commander studied the humans' movements carefully. He had trained his crew for decades, preparing them for battle, for survival, for the harsh realities of space. Yet the humans were different from anything he had encountered. They were fearless, yet gentle. They were focused, yet compassionate. He realized something important. Strength was not just about weapons or armor. Sometimes it was about courage and care. And in this moment, humans were showing a type of strength that the galaxy had rarely seen. Time passed, and the repairs began to take effect. Engines that had been offline for hours roared back to life, providing stability to the drifting ships. Shield generators started functioning again, forming protective barriers against debris and radiation. Small victories, but each one mattered immensely. The aliens began to relax slightly, trusting the humans more with each success. Yet, the danger was far from over. The dying star was unstable, its flares unpredictable and powerful. A sudden burst of radiation could destroy multiple ships in seconds. Human pilots coordinated their movements to shield the aliens from the worst of these bursts. Some ships moved between the star and the alien fleet, using their hulls to absorb radiation, while drones extended protective energy fields around the aliens. It was risky, but the humans never faltered. They were committed to the rescue, no matter the danger. The alien crews began to assist where they could. Once they understood the humans' methods, they started following instructions, stabilizing their own systems, and preparing their ships for long-term survival. It was a delicate partnership. Humans guided, repaired, and protected, while the aliens provided knowledge of their ships and systems. Together, they became a team, working in harmony to survive the harsh environment around the dying star dot in one of the smaller alien vessels. A young engineer struggled to reconnect a critical energy conduit. Sparks flew, and the power fluctuated dangerously. A human floated over, extending a steady hand to guide the alien's movements. Slowly, the conduit was reconnected, and the ship's systems stabilized. The alien looked at the human, eyes wide with gratitude and disbelief. It was a simple act, yet it symbolized something much larger: trust, cooperation, and the power of helping others in a time of crisis. Meanwhile, the human command ship monitored the entire operation. They tracked every vessel, every movement, every potential danger. Decisions were made in seconds. Which ship needed attention first? Which path was safest through the debris field? Every choice could mean life or death. Yet the humans acted decisively, calmly, and with precision. They were not just rescuers. They were leaders, guides, and protectors. The alien commander recorded new messages during this operation. His earlier despair had been replaced by cautious hope. He spoke of the humans' bravery, of their unwavering focus on saving lives, and of the unexpected kindness they had shown. For the first time, he began to see humans not as a threat, but as a species capable of extraordinary courage and empathy. His crew listened silently as he shared his thoughts. Some nodded in agreement, others struggled to believe it, but all felt a change. Humanity had challenged their expectations and shown them a new path, one of cooperation and survival. Not fear or destruction, as hours turned into what felt like an eternity. The alien fleet gradually regained stability. Engines were repaired enough to provide controlled movement. Shields were reinforced, and life support systems were stabilized. The humans did not stop there. They continued working tirelessly, ensuring that every ship had the best chance of survival. Some crews were exhausted, yet no one complained. They were driven by the knowledge that their actions were saving lives, and that simple fact was motivation enough. Small acts of heroism became common. A human engineer diverted their own oxygen supply to stabilize a failing alien life support system. A pilot maneuvered their ship to shield a damaged vessel from falling debris, risking collision. Medics stayed with the most vulnerable alien crews, tending to injuries and ensuring that everyone had enough energy to survive the night. Every human act built trust, respect, and hope among the alien fleet. By the end of the day, the alien crews had begun to understand something fundamental. Humans were not perfect, nor were they invincible, but they were willing to face danger, uncertainty, and exhaustion to help others. In a galaxy where power often meant conquest, humans had shown a different kind of strength, one built on courage, compassion, and determination. The alien commander reflected on the situation. He realized that the humans had not come for glory or recognition. They had come simply to help, and in doing so, they had created a bond that would last far beyond this crisis. Even if the fleets eventually parted ways, this moment of cooperation, trust, and mutual aid would be remembered. The aliens had witnessed something extraordinary, something that could change their perception of the universe and of humanity forever. As the human fleet prepared for the next stage of the rescue, the alien crews began making small adjustments on their own. They had learned from the humans, and they were ready to take action when needed. Repairs continued, but now with collaboration, guidance, and trust. The partnership between humans and aliens had grown stronger, and the sense of desperation that had filled the fleet earlier was gradually being replaced by determination and hope. In the quiet moments between repairs and maneuvers, alien crew members would occasionally look at the humans with curiosity. They wondered how a species so different from their own could show such care and focus. They whispered to each other, speculating about human motivations. But one thought was clear in every mind: humans were willing to risk themselves for the sake of others. And that was something rare. Even in a galaxy full of danger. By the end of Part 3, the alien fleet was no longer hopeless. They still faced challenges, still navigated a dangerous star system, but they were alive. Their engines worked, their shields were stable, and their life support systems functioned. And most importantly, they had humans by their side, guiding, repairing, and protecting them every step of the way. The bond between the two species had been forged in crisis, a bond built on courage, trust, and the simple act of choosing to help others. In the vast emptiness of space, a story was unfolding, one of survival, heroism, and unexpected alliances. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, not as aggressors, but as rescuers. And in doing so, they had begun a journey that would forever change the fate of an entire civilization. The dying star still burned fiercely, sending waves of heat and radiation that made the alien fleet tremble with every passing moment. Although human engineers had stabilized most of the ships, the danger was far from over. The star's gravitational pull continued to tug at the vessels, threatening to drag them closer into a fiery death. Every second counted, and the humans knew that a daring plan was the only way to save the fleet entirely. In the human command ship, the leaders gathered to discuss the next step. They had already repaired engines, reinforced shields, and saved hundreds of alien lives, but now came the most dangerous part: moving the entire fleet to safety. The maneuver required perfect timing, exact calculations, and unwavering focus. Any mistake could result in the destruction of both the human and alien ships. Yet, despite the risk, there was no hesitation. Humanity's mission was simple: save lives, no matter the cost. The plan was bold. The humans would use a gravitational sling maneuver, a technique that had only been attempted in simulations. By carefully positioning their strongest ships around the alien fleet, they could create a controlled trajectory that would use the dying star's gravity to fling the alien ships out of its pull. It was risky, almost reckless, but it was the only chance the aliens had. The human pilots began coordinating with the alien crews. Communication was still challenging, but trust had grown over the past hours. The humans guided the aliens through complex procedures, showing them how to stabilize their ships for the maneuver. Some aliens hesitated, fear flashing in their eyes. They had never been this close to a star, never faced such danger. But the humans were calm, steady, and focused, and slowly the aliens began to follow their lead. On the bridge of one of the human command ships, the lead pilot reviewed the data. Every ship had a precise path to follow, every angle and velocity calculated to the smallest fraction. The slightest misalignment could send the vessel spiraling into the star or colliding with another ship. The tension was almost unbearable. Yet the humans remained calm. They trusted their training, their technology, and each other. Meanwhile, the aliens prepared for the maneuver with a mixture of anxiety and cautious hope. Engineers double-checked every system, medics ensured the crew could withstand any sudden shocks, and commanders monitored their ships' positions. They had been saved once by humans, and now they had to trust them again for the next, more dangerous step. The weight of the moment pressed on everyone's shoulders, but the growing bond between the species gave them courage. The maneuver began. Human ships moved into position first, forming protective arcs around the alien fleet. The alien ships powered up their engines cautiously, following the humans' instructions. Gravity, which had been their greatest enemy, now became a tool under careful human guidance. The human pilots coordinated each movement with precision, adjusting for unpredictable shifts in the star's radiation and sudden surges of energy. For the aliens, the experience was terrifying and awe-inspiring. Their ships tilted and shifted, pulled by forces they had only studied theoretically. The humans were everywhere, monitoring, guiding, and protecting them. Every sudden jolt or vibration was met with calm reassurance from human crews. Slowly, fear turned into cautious trust. They realized that these humans, who had once seemed so unpredictable and dangerous, were now their lifeline. As the alien ships followed the carefully calculated trajectory, the star flared suddenly. A burst of radiation swept through the system, striking several ships. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and panic threatened to take over. But the humans reacted instantly. Shield generators were boosted, drones repositioned, and protective maneuvers executed in seconds. One human engineer even risked moving outside the ship to manually adjust a failing shield conduit, ensuring that an alien ship would survive the blast. The aliens watched in amazement. The humans were willing to put themselves in danger to save them. Slowly but steadily, the fleet moved farther from the star's deadly pull. The gravitational sling began to take effect. Ships were flung into a controlled path, their movement guided by the humans' careful calculations. Every ship followed the trajectory with precision, engines firing in synchronization, shields holding against radiation and debris. The aliens began to breathe easier. They could see, finally, that survival was possible. During the maneuver, small acts of bravery continued. A human pilot altered the course of a ship that had veered slightly off path, saving it from a collision with another vessel. Engineers floated between ships, reconnecting damaged circuits even as alarms rang. Medics ensured that crew members remained conscious and calm. Each action, though small on its own, combined to make the difference between life and death. The alien commander, watching the operation unfold, could not hide his awe. Humanity's actions were methodical yet compassionate. They were precise yet selfless. He realized that this species, which the galaxy often misunderstood, had a courage and ingenuity that could defy even the harshest odds. The humans were not just rescuers, they were heroes in the truest sense. After hours of intense coordination, the maneuver reached its climax. The alien fleet, guided and protected by the human ships, was finally moving away from the star's deadly influence. Engines fired in harmony, shields pulsed with energy, and the ships glided along the calculated trajectory. The humans had not just saved them. They had orchestrated a daring escape from near-certain destruction. For the aliens, the moment was overwhelming. They had faced death together, relied on a species they barely understood, and survived. Relief and gratitude washed over them. Crews cheered quietly, mindful of the fragile system still in place. Engineers monitored every system, ensuring that stability remained, while commanders communicated their thanks in gestures and signals that the humans could understand. The humans, meanwhile, did not celebrate. They remained focused, monitoring the fleet for any unexpected dangers. They had achieved the impossible, but their job was not done. Every ship had to be accounted for, every system stabilized, and every crew member cared for. Yet, even in the exhaustion, there was a quiet satisfaction, a knowledge that they had saved lives. Against overwhelming odds, as the alien fleet moved into a safer orbit, the commander recorded a new message for his people. This time, it was filled not with fear, but with hope. He spoke of the humans' courage, their precision, and their selflessness. He shared the story of the maneuver, emphasizing how humans had risked everything to ensure survival. For the first time in the fleet's history, there was a sense of unity and trust that transcended fear and uncertainty. The aliens began to understand the broader significance of what had just happened. Humans had arrived not to conquer, not to fight, but to help. They had used ingenuity, courage, and compassion to change the fate of an entire fleet. The realization was profound. The galaxy had always warned them about humanity, painting them as unpredictable and dangerous. Yet in this moment, humans had proven themselves to be something else entirely, a force for life, hope, and cooperation. Even as the danger of the dying star diminished, the human fleet continued to provide support. Drones scanned every vessel, engineers repaired lingering damage, and medics ensured that all crew members remained healthy. The aliens, though still cautious, began to follow human guidance more closely. A partnership had been forged, one born in the crucible of crisis, but strengthened by trust, courage, and shared survival. By the end of Part 4, the alien fleet was safe, at least for now. They were far from their original path, and challenges remained, but they had survived the worst. The humans had performed what many would have thought impossible. The bond between the two species had grown stronger, built on courage, collaboration, and the simple but profound act of choosing to help others in their darkest hour. In the vast emptiness of space. A story was unfolding, a story not of war, conquest, or fear, but of daring, cooperation, and heroism. Humanity had shown the galaxy that true strength was measured not in weapons or power, but in courage, skill, and the willingness to risk everything for the sake of life. The alien fleet had been saved, and in doing so, a new chapter began for both species, one that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The alien fleet, now stable and moving away from the danger of the dying star, began to recover. Systems that had been failing were repaired, shields were reinforced, and engines hummed steadily. The humans did not leave immediately. Instead, they continued to monitor every ship, ensuring that no unforeseen damage threatened the fleet. The aliens, though still wary, started to understand the scale of what had happened. They had faced death, and humans had risked everything to save them. It was a lesson that would not be forgotten. For the alien crews, the first moments after stabilization were quiet, but filled with reflection. Engineers checked systems again and again, making sure that nothing was overlooked. Medics walked among the crew, checking vital signs and offering reassurance. Crew members who had been panicked and fearful now allowed themselves to take slow, measured breaths. The sense of hopelessness that had dominated their days was slowly replaced by gratitude and relief. They had survived because of the humans' bravery and dedication. The alien commanders convened a meeting aboard their lead ship. They spoke of the humans with a mix of awe and disbelief. "They risked themselves for us," one said quietly. "Not for honor, not for power, not for gain. Just to save lives." Another commander nodded in agreement. "I have studied the galaxy, and I have been taught to fear humans. I thought them unpredictable, aggressive. But I have seen their courage, their skill, and their care. This is something remarkable." Meanwhile, the humans continued their work. Engineers moved carefully between ships, checking the repairs they had made and reinforcing fragile systems. Pilots remained on alert, ready to shield any ship that might falter. Medics attended to those who were injured or exhausted. No human celebrated yet. The job was not complete until every alien was safe and accounted for. But even in the quiet moments, there was a sense of satisfaction among the crews. They had achieved something extraordinary, not for recognition or reward, but because it was the right thing to do. The aliens began to show their gratitude in ways small and meaningful. Some provided access to advanced technology, allowing human engineers to enhance their repair tools. Others shared knowledge of the star system's anomalies, helping the humans navigate safely. The gesture was not about repayment. It was a way of showing trust and acknowledgement. Slowly, the two species began to communicate more easily. Actions spoke louder than words, and collaboration became more natural. In one of the alien ships, a young crew member approached a human medic. "Thank you," they said, though their language was rough and broken. The human smiled gently and responded with a simple gesture of reassurance. It was a small moment, but it symbolized something larger, a bond forming between two species, built on shared survival and respect. Across the fleet, similar gestures were happening. Humans and aliens were learning to understand each other, not just as allies, but as beings who had faced the same danger and come through together. The human commanders held a meeting to discuss the next steps. They had successfully rescued the alien fleet from immediate danger, but they also knew that their mission was not yet over. The alien systems were still fragile, and the fleet was far from its intended destination. The humans decided to continue escorting the fleet, offering guidance and support until they were safely beyond the influence of the dying star and the surrounding dangers. As the fleets traveled, humans and aliens began to exchange knowledge. The aliens shared information about the star system, its hazards, and ways to navigate it safely. Humans offered insights into repairs, energy efficiency, and ways to stabilize critical systems. For the first time, there was true collaboration. Both species were learning from each other, growing stronger together. The alien commanders watched closely, impressed not only by the humans' technical skill, but also by their humility and willingness to work alongside them, rather than above them. The gratitude of the aliens extended beyond practical assistance. On several ships, crew members organized small ceremonies to honor the humans' bravery. Lights were flashed in patterns, messages of thanks were transmitted, and even simple gestures, like offering rations and medical supplies, were shared. For many humans, it was a new experience. They were accustomed to being the rescuers, not the ones being acknowledged. Yet they accepted the gestures warmly, understanding that the bonds they were forming were meaningful and genuine. The alien fleet also began to make promises. They pledged to help others in need whenever possible, inspired by the humans' example. They spoke of sharing knowledge, offering protection, and cooperating with other species in the galaxy. The humans did not ask for anything in return. They had not helped for reward, and they did not seek repayment. But hearing these promises, knowing that their actions might inspire others to act with courage and compassion, gave the human crews a quiet sense of satisfaction. They were planting seeds of hope that could grow far beyond this single rescue. Even amid the relief and gratitude, there were challenges. Some ships had suffered severe structural damage, requiring careful navigation to avoid further harm. Some crew members were exhausted, both physically and emotionally, from the ordeal. Humans worked tirelessly, not just repairing ships, but also offering support to alien medics and engineers. They shared techniques for energy stabilization, life support management, and stress reduction. The aliens observed closely, impressed by the humans' efficiency and empathy. In quiet moments, humans and aliens began to talk in ways that went beyond survival. They shared stories of their homes, their experiences, and their hopes for the future. Even with language barriers, they found ways to connect through gestures, shared routines, and the simple understanding of what it meant to live, struggle, and persevere. The alien crews had expected hostility or indifference from humans, but what they found was companionship, trust, and care. The lead alien commander recorded another message, this time intended not just for his fleet, but for others who might receive it across the galaxy. He spoke of humanity's bravery, ingenuity, and selflessness. He recounted how the humans had risked everything to rescue them, how they had repaired ships under extreme conditions, and how they had guided the fleet to safety. He spoke of gratitude, respect, and a newfound understanding that humans were capable of greatness beyond mere power. As the fleet moved further from the dying star, the humans prepared to depart. The alien commanders insisted they stay a little longer, offering gifts and expressing their thanks. Humans accepted only a few symbolic gestures, refusing anything that might seem like a reward or repayment. For them, the true reward was seeing the alien fleet safe and functional again. Their mission was complete, and yet the bonds they had formed would endure far longer than any physical repairs or technological fixes. The final moments of Part 5 were quiet but powerful. Humans and aliens shared a sense of accomplishment and relief. The alien fleet was no longer on the brink of destruction. The humans had shown that courage, skill, and compassion could overcome even the most extreme odds. For the aliens, it was a lesson that would influence their decisions, their culture, and their understanding of humanity for generations. In the vast expanse of space, a story of survival and gratitude was written, not in words, but in actions. Humanity had not sought glory or recognition. They had not fought for power or territory. They had acted out of a simple principle, to save lives when others were in danger. And in doing so, they had earned the respect, trust, and friendship of an entire civilization. By the end of Part 5, the alien fleet was safe, operational, and grateful. The humans had prepared them for the journey ahead, shared knowledge to prevent future danger, and formed bonds that would last beyond this crisis. The galaxy had witnessed an extraordinary act, one that would redefine how humans were seen. They were not just survivors or explorers. They were protectors, heroes, and a beacon of hope for anyone in need. The story was far from over, but a new chapter had begun. Humanity had shown what it truly meant to act with courage, empathy, and dedication. And the aliens, forever changed by the experience, carried with them the knowledge that the galaxy was larger, more complex, and more connected than they had ever imagined. The alien fleet was finally moving steadily through space, far from the deadly influence of the dying star. Engines hummed evenly, shields glowed faintly, and crew members went about their routines with a mixture of relief and lingering awe. They had survived what seemed impossible, and the humans had guided them every step of the way. The lessons learned during the crisis were not only technical, but profoundly personal. The aliens had witnessed courage, skill, and compassion on a scale they had never imagined. For the human crews, the sense of relief was quiet but deep. They had completed the mission they set out for, not to fight, not to dominate, but to save lives. The human fleet continued to stay close, providing support and guidance, ensuring that no ship was left behind. Engineers made final adjustments to alien engines. Medics checked on crew members who had endured prolonged stress, and pilots continued to lead the fleet along a safe trajectory. Every action reinforced the trust that had been built in the most intense circumstances. The alien commanders convened a meeting aboard the lead ship, reflecting on the events that had unfolded. The sense of gratitude was overwhelming. They spoke of the human skill in navigating complex maneuvers, their courage in facing radiation and debris, and their tireless efforts to repair and stabilize the fleet. Some of the younger officers whispered about how extraordinary it was to see another species act with such selflessness, especially when there was nothing to gain. These words were carried across the fleet through signals, gestures, and even simple broadcasts, spreading gratitude and understanding among all crew members. Humans and aliens began to talk more openly, not only about the technical aspects of survival, but about their lives, their experiences, and their hopes. The humans shared stories of Earth, of its oceans, mountains, and cities, and of the people who worked tirelessly to explore space. The aliens shared glimpses of their worlds, of strange landscapes, bioluminescent forests, and vast floating cities. Despite the language barriers and cultural differences, there was a growing connection. The shared experience of danger, fear, and ultimately survival created a bond that transcended words. The alien fleet slowly adapted to the new knowledge and techniques provided by the humans. Engineers experimented with improved energy distribution systems. Medics integrated human methods for rapid stabilization of crew, and pilots learned ways to maneuver through dangerous space phenomena with precision inspired by human training. The humans had not imposed their methods. They had shared them, guiding the aliens to adopt practices that would help them survive in future emergencies. This approach earned deep respect from the aliens. who realized that humanity's strength was in teaching and sharing, not commanding or controlling. Small celebrations began to take place within the alien fleet, though they were subtle. Lights flashed in patterns of gratitude. Small messages were transmitted to human ships, and crew members offered simple gestures of thanks. Human crews accepted these with humility, understanding that the recognition was not the purpose of their mission, but a symbol of trust and friendship. The fleet, once on the brink of annihilation, had transformed into a network of collaboration and mutual respect. As the fleet moved farther from danger, the alien commander sent a message across space, intended to reach other civilizations. It was a message of hope, a testimony to what humanity could achieve. He described how the humans had arrived without weapons, without demands, and without hesitation. They had repaired systems, stabilized life support, and guided the fleet through perilous maneuvers, all while facing dangers themselves. The message emphasized that true courage was not measured by power or aggression, but by the willingness to risk oneself for the sake of others. Throughout the fleet, crew members reflected on the human actions. Engineers discussed the techniques they had learned. Medics analyzed new ways to stabilize life, and pilots marveled at the precision of the maneuvers. Beyond the technical lessons, there was a deeper understanding taking root. The aliens realized that humanity represented something rare, a species capable of combining intelligence, skill, and empathy into action. It was a revelation that challenged long-held assumptions about humans and reshaped how they would view other civilizations in the future. The humans themselves remained humble, quietly continuing their work. They checked systems, assisted where needed, and maintained a watchful presence. Their focus was always on the well-being of the alien fleet. For them, the true reward was in the fleet's survival and the trust that had been built. Even the smallest gesture, a repaired console, a stabilized shield, or a calm word of reassurance, was enough to strengthen the bond between the species. At one point, a minor system failure occurred on one of the alien ships. A crew member hesitated, fearing it could spiral into a larger disaster. A human engineer quickly intervened, guiding them through the repair process while maintaining calm communication. The issue was resolved, and the alien crew member looked at the human with awe and gratitude. It was a small incident, but it symbolized the profound change that had occurred. Humans were no longer strangers. They were partners, allies, and even friends. Over time, the alien fleet began to incorporate some of the human methods into their standard practices. Emergency protocols were rewritten, communication strategies improved, and crew training began to include elements learned from the humans. The knowledge shared was not imposed, but embraced willingly, demonstrating respect and trust between the two species. The humans had not only saved the fleet, but had left a lasting legacy that would influence the alien civilization for years to come. As the journey continued, the alien commander made a formal gesture of gratitude. He requested that a message be recorded and sent across both fleets, expressing their collective thanks to the human crews. He spoke of bravery, selflessness, and guidance, emphasizing that the humans' actions had prevented disaster and reshaped the aliens' understanding of the universe. The message was broadcast, not just as thanks, but as a symbol of hope and cooperation for any civilizations that might one day receive it. The human crews received the message with quiet satisfaction. There was no celebration, no fanfare, only a deep shared understanding that their actions had made a lasting difference. They had faced immense danger, guided an entire fleet to safety, and left behind not just a repaired fleet, but a transformed perspective on interstellar relations. Humanity had proven that courage, empathy, and skill could shape outcomes far beyond what technology alone could achieve. In the final moments of their mission, the humans prepared to depart. They had ensured that the alien fleet was stable, capable of self-navigation, and prepared for future emergencies. Systems were checked one last time, life support verified, and communication protocols finalized. The aliens offered one final gesture of thanks, a coordinated display of lights, signals, and messages across the fleet. Humans acknowledged it with a simple, respectful response. The connection between the two species had been cemented. As the human ships pulled away, the aliens watched in awe. The humans had arrived unexpectedly, faced extreme danger, and accomplished what many would have deemed impossible. They had not sought fame, territory, or recognition. They had acted purely to save lives, to offer guidance, and to instill hope. For the aliens, this was a lesson in courage, compassion, and the potential of cooperation between civilizations. Even after the humans departed, the impact of their actions was clear. Alien crews practiced the techniques they had learned. Engineers refined their systems using human guidance, and medics integrated new stabilization methods into their routines. The fleet moved forward, not only with improved technology, but with a renewed sense of unity, purpose, and hope. The experience had changed them, showing that even in the vast and dangerous reaches of space, acts of bravery and compassion could leave a lasting imprint. In the quiet moments that followed, alien crews reflected on the broader significance. They realized that humanity's actions could inspire other civilizations to act with courage and empathy. They thought of future explorers, scientists, and travelers who might one day face crisis. The example set by humans would serve as a guiding principle, a reminder that life, cooperation, and courage were more powerful than fear or hostility. The legacy of this rescue would endure. The humans had not just saved a fleet. They had demonstrated a philosophy of action. They had shown that even in the darkest moments, courage combined with compassion could achieve the extraordinary. For the alien civilization, this would become a story passed down through generations, a story of hope, trust, and the extraordinary capabilities of a species once thought unpredictable. As the alien fleet continued its journey, moving steadily towards safety and beyond, the humans vanished into the expanse of space, leaving behind lives saved, lessons learned, and friendships forged under the most extreme circumstances. The galaxy, once indifferent and perilous, had witnessed a profound act of heroism. Humanity had arrived not to conquer or dominate, but to rescue, guide, and inspire. Their actions would be remembered far longer than the immediate crisis, leaving a legacy of courage, empathy, and the enduring power of choosing to help when it matters most. By the end of Part 6, the story of the rescue was complete, yet its impact would echo through time. T.